Good morning, everyone, and I'd like to welcome everybody to the Audit and Finance Standing Committee for November 15th, 2023. It is 10:07. My name is Paul Russell, and I represent Lower Sackville, and I'd like to call the meeting to order. I'd also like to acknowledge that the Halifax Regional Municipality is located in Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral and traditional lands of the Mi'kmaq people. The municipality acknowledges the peace and friendship treaties signed in this territory and recognizes that we are all treaty people. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes of September 20 and November 1, 2023. Can I have a motion to approve those minutes, please? Thank you, Councillor Hensby, seconded by Councillor Daigle-Gammon. Are there any errors or omissions? Not seeing any. All in favor of the minutes, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Great. The minutes passed. Thank you very much. The next item is the approval of the order of business and approval of additions and deletions. Over to the clerk. Do we have any changes today?
No additions or deletions have been received by the clerk's office.
Okay. Thank you very much. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented? Thank you, Councillor Daigle-Gammon, seconded by Councillor Stoddard. Are there any changes from the committee? Not seeing any. Please, all in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Great, thank you. Business arising out of the minutes? Not seeing any. Call for declaration of conflict of interest? None there. Motions of reconsideration, motions of rescission, consideration of deferred business, and notices of tabled matters are all none. Correspondence. Do we have any correspondence today?
No correspondence have been received by the clerk's office.
Okay, thank you. And do we have any petitions?
No petitions have been received by the clerk's office.
No petitions from the committee. And we don't have any presentations today. We have no information items brought forward. So the next item on the order of business is public participation. And this is an opportunity for any member of the public to come and speak to the Audit and Finance Standing Committee. As of 4:30 yesterday afternoon, no members of the public had signed up. So at this point, I'll ask if there are any members in the gallery, like Mr. Colin May, who would like to step forward and address the Audit and Finance Standing Committee. Good morning, Colin. You have 5 minutes. Go ahead. One second, please. Colin, we need to turn on your mic.
Oh,
there we are. Thank you very much.
Sorry. We all know interest rates have gone up, but I went looking back through bonds issued by the province in the fall and in the spring of the past number of years. In the spring of 2020, you could get the province issued 15-year money at 1.99. In the fall of 22, 15-year money was 4.34. So I look at that and I'm like, whatever borrowings you do this year or the next spring are going to be a lot more expensive than we've had the past couple of years. I don't think I need to explain that any further. The other item is that going through my voluminous amounts of paper in my little study area and throwing out things. Back on March 23, I was here, and I can't remember if it was Budget Committee or Finance and Audit, and I spoke to the issue of the HRM pension plan and the special payments, and I noted then that there was a significant drop of going from 8 figures down to like 200,000 was peanuts. And I asked at the time if this was reflected in the budget, and there was a kind of silence at the front, and the Mayor followed up from it, and I believe that the Director of Finance and the solicitor agreed that there would be a briefing note sent to, I believe it was members of the committee. I don't think it was the whole council. And so what occurred to me was there ever a briefing note? And can I get a copy? Or could the staff explain what the briefing note said? I hear them, I'll just add on that I often hear at council references to briefing notes, but I've never seen one, but I've never particularly asked for one. I've never filed a FOIP for one either. And that's all I have today, sir.
Thank you very much, Colin. I'm going to put Jerry on the spot and ask about that briefing note. We regularly do get briefing notes as part of the budget packages. They show up as a portion of the document, either a page or two.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. To Mr. May's point, I appreciate your comments about interest rates. With respect to your comments about special payments, you are correct. I think the mayor didn't ask for it wasn't a specific motion, but he did ask at some time that special payments be addressed. We are working on some things with that, and we'll certainly bring that around this year for budget. With respect to briefing notes, they're particularly something that we use through the budget process where a business unit comes in and presents. If council wants more information, they can request a briefing note. Those briefing notes are made public through the budget process, so they would be posted online. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jerry. So there will be some follow-up with that. At this point, I'd like to ask again if there are any members of the public who would like to come forward and address the Audit and Finance Standing Committee. And third and final time, are there any members of the public who would like to step forward and address the Audit and Finance Standing Committee? Great, thank you very much. Moving forward in the agenda, there are no reports from the Auditor General at this point. We have, the next item is 13.2.1, investment activities for the quarter ending June 30 of 2023. We have no presentation on this, but we do have staff available to answer any questions. So I'm wondering if someone could put the motion on the floor, please. Go ahead, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, I see. Vice Chair? Okay. So this is 13.2.1, Mr. Chair. It's recommended the Audit and Finance Standing Committee forward this report to Halifax Council as an information item.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Daigle-Gammon. Is there anything on that, Mr. Mayor?
No, I'm good. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. And I don't see any further questions from members of the committee. Are we ready for the question? Okay, all in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Great, thank you very much. The next item on the agenda is 13.2.2, the second quarter 23-24 financial report. There is a presentation on this, and Dave Harley is also available after the presentation for any questions. Go ahead, Dave, the floor is yours.
Great, thank you very much. Dave Harley, Director of Accounting and Financial Reporting, and I'm here this morning to take you through the second quarter financial report. To begin with, we're looking at our general rate deficit for the year. Currently, we're projecting a deficit of $7 million. This is a decrease of what we'd actually projected at the end of our first quarter of the year. The reason for that is the work that was done to utilize the risk reserve to offset some of the additional costs we had seen as a result of some of the extraordinary weather events we'd seen throughout this year. So making up this $7 million deficit, the biggest single factor is a decrease in our D-transfer revenues. They're currently down about $10 million compared to what we budgeted, and it's a continuing decrease that we're seeing in the residential real estate market is what's driving that. We continue to see increasing costs in our utilities, primarily natural gas and heating fuel are projected to be up quite significantly this year over budget. And our building maintenance and equipment costs are also up, so that's driving another $2.7 million of this deficit. We've seen an increase in various external contracts, primarily due to an increase in living wages and the contractual obligation resulting from that, as well as other inflationary impacts that's driving up the deficit about $1.7 million. And then finally, we're seeing an increase in vehicle expenditures, primarily related to maintenance and having to contract out due to higher vacancies, and the rising cost of our aging fleet is also requiring additional work. So that's about $1.1 million. Finally, we're seeing an increase in computer software support agreements and some telephone costs from inflationary impacts. That's driving up another $735,000. Offsetting this, we are seeing some decreases in our compensation and benefits across the organization, so that's saving us about $5.8 million. We've had some other savings of about $2 million that have been released this year, and we've increased our revenues. We've seen an increase in revenues expected from Divert Nova Scotia of about $1.6 million. So all of those are working to bring down the deficit that we're projecting for the year. In terms of the ongoing risks and opportunities that we're monitoring for this year, we're continually monitoring for the impacts of severe weather-related events, similar to what we've already seen this year. We're keeping a close eye on our D-transfer tax as to whether or not that's going to bounce back a little bit or continue its decline that we've seen this year. Inflationary increases and stock shortages that continue to have impacts on our operational and capital budgets, and it's causing impacts to the ability to progress capital work. Commodity costs, as we've seen, have been subject to inflationary pressures this year. We've also got pressures related to staffing levels and the housing crisis going on throughout the municipality. So we're going to move over into looking at the councillors' funds now. Our district capital funds, which have a budget of $3.2 million. We've seen $1.9 million spent or committed this year, so there is still $1.3 million available for spending throughout this budget. From our district activity funds, there's a $72,000 budget total for the year. $44,000 of that has already been spent or committed, so there's still $27.8 thousand available to spend by the end of this fiscal year. With our recreational area rates, of the 22 that we have, they started the year with a surplus of combined surplus of $1.2 million. So far this year, they've brought in revenues of $1.1 million. Expenditures have been about $735,000. So as of September 30th, we had a surplus of $1.6 million combined for all the different area rates, recreational area rates, I should say. So we're going to move to the reserves. We had an opening balance in our reserves for the year of $448 million. We have current commitments in the current year of almost $260 million. Some additional funds coming in, but we are projecting to close the year out at around $231 million within our reserves. Mind you, a lot of these funds are committed in future years, so if we look out to the end of our 5-year projection, we are saying we have about $23 million of those funds are uncommitted as of the end of that 5th year. Next up is our aged accounts receivable. So there's a significant increase in this due to the timing of the final property tax bill for the year, which came out just prior to the close of the quarter. So as you can see, we had outstanding property taxes of $409.2 million, local improvement charges of $11.7 million, and PILT of about $30.7 million. Add to that some general revenues that are still receivable, and that's $12.3 million, so that brings us to the $463.9 million. Again, that is largely timing, and by this point in time, those numbers have come down significantly as people are paying their tax bills. So moving on to our capital projections, you will notice there's quite a change to the opening balance that we're showing here of our carry forward. So what we've actually done is we've removed the multi-year budget balances from that opening balance just to present a better view of project progress against what the staff are approved to spend in the year. So by removing those multi-year budget amounts, just trying to give council a clear view of what work hasn't progressed from what we'd expect to progress in this year. So some of those multi-year budgets, that budget would be further out in the life of that capital asset. So we're starting the year with a carry forward, or a net available budget, of $721.8 million. We've spent $90.4 million this year. We have projected to spend another $191 million, and that's going to leave us with work that's expected to carry over into the next fiscal year of $476.8 million. Next, we're going to move on to our hospitality expenditures. So for the 3-month period, we did spend almost $22,000 in hospitality expenditures. The vast majority of this, I think about $17,000, was related to the international students reception that was held. And a lot of those funds are actually recoverable. We're just reporting that they were actually spent as hospitality expenditures through this year, but we will be recovering the majority of those funds. And finally, we're going to move on to the expenses for reportable individuals. So you can see by councillor and the CAO what the expenditures were for this quarter. So we had a grand total of $15,000 for the quarter. Our year-to-date total is now $63,000, and the different breakouts by person are included here for you. And that's the end of the presentation, so we'll open the floor for questions.
Thank you very much, Dave, for that presentation. Looking at the list, go ahead, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much, Chair. It's recommended the Audit and Finance Standing Committee forward the second quarter 23-24 financial report to Regional Council for their info. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Go ahead.
You know, I've been on Audit and Finance, I think the whole time I've been mayor, which is just shy of 100 years, and I've always wondered, why do we identify the hospitality expenditures and the expenses of reportable? Why do we make, like, we have a budget of $1 billion, and this is so far inside. Is this a legislative thing that we have to do?
Through you, Mr. Chair, to the Mayor. Yes, we are legislatively required by the province to report on our hospitality and expenses for reportable individuals on a quarterly basis.
Yeah, but does it have to be done in public? It just seems like a waste of time for such a small amount of money.
It does have to be publicly posted, so there are additional options we could do aside from reporting it through Audit and Finance, but.
Yeah, it just seems to me, I mean, look, we've had the Auditor General, not Evangeline, but Larry, twice looked at our expenses, and both times basically said, nah, there's not much there. I remember Richard Butts, the CAO, when I came aboard, he said to me, he said, your expenses are inside the margins at worst, and like, we don't spend a lot of money on things. The 21,000 you mentioned, mostly on the international student reception, RBC, Bell, and NSP, thanks to them, each contributed $5,000, which I assume will come back to offset that, so that's a very small amount as well. Okay, interesting. Question on, I kind of like what you did there in terms of the budget, capital project projection summary. I think this reflects better kind of where we are right now and in the year to come. Question is, projected work to progress into 24-25. 476, that's a huge amount of money. So that's an accumulation of capital projects that haven't been finished, but do we think they'll be finished in 24-25? It doesn't say to finish, it says to progress. These are things that will carry on multi-year expenditures?
Crystal Allen's going to speak to that.
Bring it in the big guns.
Crystal Allen, Director of Asset Management, through you, Mr. Chair, to the Mayor. I can't say necessarily that they'll be complete in 24-25. There's a number of them that are progressing at various stages in the early phases of planning, design, consultation, and procurement at this rate.
Okay. Is Cogswell included in that, or is that a separate fund altogether?
No, that would be included.
The Cogswell piece?
Yes. So
there'd be an expenditure, and then we would account for the revenue to offset that when we sell some of that land for development.
Correct. The most recent approach with sale of land for Cogswell is that that revenue isn't expected to come in until after the construction. So the full construction cost of the project will be recognized through this budget. And then when we go to debt fund the construction cost, the sale of lands after the fact will help go towards the repayments of the debt.
Right. Projected deficit has come down, as you said, and you are working, the department is working to try to bring that to zero before the end of the year? Or surplus? Don't worry about a surplus. If you.
Through you, Mr. Chair, yes, we're always looking at what we can do in terms of mitigating cost expenditures. So there's a bit of a push on current to minimize any expenditures that are not required for this year to maintain service levels. We're always looking at what additional things, ins and outs may be coming, so that there's some potential things that could come forward in the year that could swing it either way. Right now, this is our best projection of what we are aware of at this point in time and what
Right.
we have on the books.
And as municipalities, we can't carry forward a deficit. We have to deal with the deficit at the end of the year. We either have to take money out to pay it or to adjust tax rate to deal with that, correct?
Yes, we would either have to fund it up in the current year or would be basically the first budget item we'd have for the next year to be funded.
One of the things I've been talking with Jerry a lot about recently is, because there's going to be a tough budget year upcoming. I think we all recognize that we're dealing with a lot of things. Some of them are legacy issues around development that has now got costs that we have to pick up. But there is no, police, fire, these are not costs that are going to go down. So we're going to have a challenge on those. So one of the things I've been talking to Jerry about is, and nationally as well, as in my role with the big city mayors, and FCM's been very active on this, that cities like ours have been driving the growth of provinces, but we're not seeing the benefit of that growth in our taxation system as much as the province. The provincial government, I think, they're raised, I thought I saw in the news, $2 billion more year over year. Think about $2 billion. And, we are 80-some% of the growth of the province since 2016. And we increased our budget last year by 54 million, I think was the number. So 54 million versus 2 billion in terms of increased revenue. The province did that without increasing taxes because people are moving here, mainly to Halifax, and they're paying income tax, they're paying sales tax, they're paying more corporate tax. But it's a much slower rate of return for the municipality, and it's one of the things we're going to have to deal with in the years to come. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Before we move ahead, go ahead, CFO.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Jerry Blackwood, CFO. Just a couple of comments on from the mayor's questions, and totally agree with the mayor on hospitality. It is restrictive for a municipality of our size. Some of the rules around that. And just for some of the councillors that may not have been around when that rule came in through FRAM, which is the financial accounting manual that we have to follow. This was predicated on some things that happened, which are public in Richmond County. So it's a very much, for smaller municipalities, but I would agree with the mayor that the expenses for the size of our municipality are very reasonable. And just with respect to the slide on the capital projection, I think this is something that council is really going to have to be mindful of coming into this budget year. As the mayor said, it will be a tough budget year. But when you look at projected work progressing into 24, 25, almost $500 million, if you recall the 4-year capital plan you approved in principle last year, there's another, I think it's $370 million, coming in on top of that, right? So, that's not what I would say is a failure to deliver projects, but I think we it's a constrained market and inflation that we're dealing with, right? So I just wanted to just add those couple of comments on there. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jerry. Go ahead, Councillor Stoddard.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and thank you for this presentation. Would funds used for the homeless conference be included in this amount for hospitality, or is that considered another term? So I think money would have been allocated previously?
I'll have to check on that. I believe there's a possibility they may, but there is some nuance around what is included and what isn't. So if we are hosting an event ourselves, that may be the case. But if we are providing a grant to somebody else, that would not be included in our hospitality.
Yeah. I wouldn't think it would be much considering the registration fees and whatnot, but I was just wondering what our bottom line was for that.
To look-
Oh, gee. Okay, great. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Thank you very much, Councillor Stoddard. I don't see any further speakers on the board. Are we ready for the question? All in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Great. Thank you very much. John, I'm going to hand the floor to you for a second.
Thank you, Chair. So just cycle back and close the loop on the comments that Mr. May made. I had to refresh my memory. So the pension plan is managed externally by a pension committee, which has representatives of the employer and the employee groups. The information with respect to that is all posted online at hrmpensionplan.ca, is available publicly. From the last annual report, as at December 31st, 2022, to Mr. May's question, the plan has a small surplus equal to approximately 3% of the value of the benefits earned. This is the first time the plan has been in a surplus position since 2007, so it has made good progress. Extra contributions are being made, as Mr. May noted, over and above the current service cost contributions so that we can conservatively grow the surplus over time. These extra contributions are currently estimated to equal 7.2% of payroll as at December 30th of 2022. So that's obviously still under thing. So all of that information is available to all the plan members and also to the public. It's posted at the pension plan website. Anybody who's looking for it, that's where you need to go.
Thank you very much, John. The next item on the agenda is 13.2.3, the proposed 2024 meeting schedule. Can I please have someone make the motion? Go ahead, Councillor Hensby.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the Audit and Finance Committee approve the 2024 Audit and Finance Standing Committee meeting schedule as outlined in the staff memorandum.
Thank you very much. Seconded by Councillor Stoddard. Go ahead, Councillor Hensby.
Nothing to say, I'm just trying to shut off the mic.
Okay, thank you. I don't see any speakers on the board. Are we ready for the question? Question's been called. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Great, thank you. That motion passes. We have a schedule for next year. There is nothing from the Grants Committee. There is nothing from members of the Standing Committee. There are no motions. We do have in-camera minutes from September 20 and November 1st, 2023. Go ahead, Councillor Hensby.
Mr. Chairman, that I'll move that the in-camera minutes and private minutes of September 20th, 2023 and November 1st, 2023 be approved as circulated.
Seconded by the mayor. Thank you. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Great. Thank you very much. There are no added items. Notices of motion. Not seeing any. The date of the next meeting is December 13th, 2023, And with that, can I have a motion to go ahead, Mr. Mayor?
Just wondering, is the news that you and I know about me being made public today about our new hire in the city?
That is in the works. There are some procedural things that have to happen. There are some notification things that have to happen, and then there will be public announcements following that.
Okay, then I will not congratulate you for your leadership in that process.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Hensby. So with that, I'm sorry? Motion to adjourn by Councillor Hensby. Thank you very much. We stand adjourned. It is 10:37.